Good day, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We start off in Vienna, Austria, where oil-producing countries have met to discuss world oil production. OPEC member states decided not to cut oil prices and maintain the 30 million barrels a day production target. Ahead of the summit, Venezuela, Russia, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia met for the first time in decades to discuss strategic issues regarding oil production. While the failure to convince other member states to cut production could be a temporary setback, the four countries will meet again in 3 months for further discussions.
I'm surprised that everybody was waiting a cut. No, the objective of this meeting was to join and discuss. We did not announce that we join to decide some cut. No, never. Never. It's the first time in 10 years, 11 years, that the Russian, Mexico, Saudis, and Venezuela meet. And that was the objective of this meeting. And now we have a mechanism to still talking about that. We are going to meet again in 3 months.
And now we go to Mexico, where 2 months have passed since local police forces abducted 43 students from the Ayotzinapa Teachers Training College. The students, protests about the students continued throughout Mexico on Wednesday on the 2-month anniversary of the abductions. Protesters are demanding the liberation of 11 demonstrators who were arrested on the 20th of November and now being charged with attempted murder. Protests continued throughout Mexico on Wednesday on the 2-month anniversary of the abductions. Protesters are demanding, as I said, the liberation of those 11 demonstrators who were arrested on the 20th of November. They are now being charged with attempted murder. For more coverage on the missing students and the ongoing protests, we go to our correspondent Clayton Kahn.
Today we await the announcement by Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto of a series of new anti-crime police reform measures coming 2 months after the country was thrown into a security crisis after the forced disappearance of the 43 Ayotzinapa students. Nieto will outline a reformation of the country's police and security forces that will presumably strengthen and better train municipal and local level police, applying new control evaluations with stronger background checks and chains of command. The country's Interior Minister, Miguel Ángel Osorio Chong, also said the executive branch will be asking for local and state leaders to, quote, remove from the streets the more than 41,000 police that have failed evaluations. Now, this announcement comes amid the deepening social and political crisis in Mexico, as the authorities, especially those in charge with security, have lost a great deal of trust with the population after the September 26th police attack in Iguala Guerrero that left those 6 dead and the 43 students missing. This is Clayton Kahn reporting for Telesur here in Mexico City.
Thanks to Clayton. We turn to Colombia now, where it appears the government and the FARC guerrilla group could soon resume the stalled peace talks there. President Juan Manuel Santos says he will call off the military operations in the Chocó district in order to facilitate the liberation of General Rubén Darío Alzate. FARC rebels captured Darío Alzate earlier this month. The general was originally expected to be released last Tuesday. However, the FARC guerrilla group canceled the liberation and claimed that the military was conducting operations which could endanger the general's life and the whole process. For the latest on the details of the Colombian peace process, we go once again to our correspondent in Bogotá, Charles Parkinson.
Late this morning, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos announced that General Rubén Darío Alzate would be released this Saturday, 29th of November, which will be almost 2 weeks after he was captured by the FARC in the western coastal region of Chocó. He was captured alongside lawyer Gloria Orrego and soldier Jorge Rodriguez, who are also going to be released on Saturday. Now, Santos at the time called off the peace talks and said that they could not continue until Alzate was released. So it can be hoped that as of next week, the peace talks will get underway again. The big question question surrounding Alzate's release is whether he'll be able to explain what exactly he was doing in an area of heavy guerrilla activity, dressed as a civilian with no security protection. Charles Parkinson in Bogota, Colombia.
And thanks to Charles, the FARC have announced that General Ruben Dario Alzate and 2 other companions will be freed this Sunday. In the press release issued this Thursday, the FARC indicated, quote, "We can ensure that the General Alzate, Cape Orrego Rodriguez, and the doctor, the opposite of what happens with our prisons in Colombia, will embrace his own the next Sunday if we have the venia of meteorology." In the same item, FARC criticized the media campaign around the retention of Alzate, saying, quote, "A military officer who has at your command 1,000 men can have advanced military technology caught in your own theater of operations, not be called kidnapped. Please, gentlemen, directors of the media." And we move now to Uruguay, where the leftist Broad Front political party looks to be headed toward victory in Sunday's presidential elections. Our correspondent Jorge Gestoso has more.
Hello, I'm Jorge Gestoso from Montevideo, where by midnight it's going to end up the electoral process towards the presidential elections on Sunday. Most of the polls give a comfortable lead to the Broad Front, the Frente Amplio of Dr. Tabaré Vázquez, with about 53 to 55% of the votes against Dr. Luis Lacalle Pou with 38 to 41% of the votes. 2.6 million of Uruguayans are going to go to the polls, and the Electoral Court anticipate that by midnight we'll get the results or very early on Monday morning.
Thanks to Jorge. Taking a look at world news now. More than 170 protests took place throughout the United States on Wednesday. It was the second day of demonstrations after Monday's grand jury decision to not indict police officer Darren Wilson, who killed Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. More than 400 people were arrested as a result of the protests, including Telesur presenter G1 of the program And You Don't Stop. President Barack Obama acknowledged Monday that communities of color in the U.S. are not fabricating their racial concerns and that the problem must be tackled. For more now on the demonstrations throughout the country, we go to our correspondent on the ground, Alexandra Hall.
Protests have calmed down for this Thanksgiving holiday as snow falls on Ferguson. It's the third day following a grand jury's announcement that Officer Darren Wilson will not be indicted in the fatal shooting of Michael Brown in August. On Wednesday night, only 5 arrests were reported in St. Louis County. That's significantly lower than the 58 arrests that were reported on Tuesday and 81 that were reported on Monday evening in the hours following the announcement. Meanwhile, actions have actually stepped up around the country, with hundreds of arrests reported the last couple days in Los Angeles alone. Right now we're hearing that authorities are investigating the burning down of the Flood Christian Church in Ferguson, and that's the church that Michael Brown Sr. is a member of. The leader of that church, Reverend Carlton Lee, has received at least 80 death threats since he began participating in demonstrations in August and publicly came out in support of the Brown family. Meanwhile, we hear from activists that the next collective action will be a massive boycott on Friday of Black Friday as we know it. Reporting in St. Louis, I'm Alexandra Hall for Telesur.
And thanks to Alexandra. And another shooting of a young African-American has added to racial tensions in the United States. 12-year-old African-American Tamir Rice was shot by Cleveland police while playing with a fake gun in a park. The video shows the policeman killed the teenager in less than a minute after reaching the site. Another video was also released Wednesday showing Utah police killing an 18-year-old African-American who was dressed as a samurai. Policemen in the case were not indicted after alleging the man attacked. A video conflicts those reports and shows the man running. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.